All right, welcome back to Boring Reviews. Nick here, and I am bringing you my solo review of episode 1 of The Forgotten Army. The Forgotten Army, that's right. Now, this is the first time here at Boring Reviews we're doing episode by episode review of a series, but since we just dropped our Sacred Games review, and it seems to be accepted pretty nicely, and Family Man review will be coming out very soon. Gabe's still got to finish it. Then we will bring that to you, not episode by episode. That'll be another compilation review. Maybe not as long as Sacred Games, but you never know. Family Man is a longer show. But with The Forgotten Army, there's only 5 episodes. It just came out not too long ago, a few days ago. And I am excited to check it out. I'm excited to check out a new series as you're checking it out. Yes, all 5 episodes are available on Amazon Prime, but I just watched the first one last night, and I'm going to review it, and I wanted to do it that way so that I did not watch the rest and have the future episodes cloud my mind with how I felt about the first episode. So this is going to be a rather quick review as far as quick for Boring Reviews goes. Here we go. Boring Reviews. So The Forgotten Army tells, it's based on the incredible true story of the group of soldiers who were stationed in Singapore in 1942 when the Japanese in World War II, as portrayed in the show, they portrayed it as a surprise. They surprised the British Army, who had Indian soldiers, obviously, because India was under English rule, British rule. And so the British soldiers, a large population of Indian soldiers, were there in Singapore. In the show, they're in the rubber plant orchards, and the Japanese surprise attacks them. And this is the incredible true story about what happens after that. I have not seen the show. I have quite a few of our followers, quite a few of our subscribers have given us a lot of information, especially on the historical figure Bose, who eventually takes over the Indian National Army, but I'm kind of getting a little ahead of myself. So this is the first episode of how the Indian National Army became. And if you'll notice, I'm wearing my Lakers hat. I'll be wearing this hat for the next several videos after this one is posted. If there's one where I'm not wearing it, it's because we already recorded that video a day previous. But for those of you who do not know, I'm sure you all do, Kobe Bryant, unfortunately, has passed away through a tragic helicopter crash. I've been a Lakers fan since I was a kid. It was Kobe and Shaq that got me into the NBA. I grew up in Southern California, so naturally the Lakers, they were amazing in the late 90s, early 2000s. I am devastated. I was devastated to hear that news. No, I did not know him personally. No, I never met him. But I have been a huge fan of his. I feel horrible for his family, that his daughter Gianna also passed away. And I feel horrible for the other men and women that died in that crash and the families that are trying to survive without them. So in honor of Kobe Bryant, my favorite basketball player, my opinion, who is the GOAT, Kobe Bryant, I'm going to be wearing this hat. And so let's get into The Forgotten Army episode 1. So this episode for me was kind of like 2 different episodes. It was a short episode. It was 36 minutes long. Very easy to watch that first episode. I was so tempted to watch many more, but I wanted to get this to you, my honest reaction and review to the first episode. But it's like 2 different shows. We start off with the main character, Surinder Sodhi, and he's an older gentleman. He's being picked up by his sister's family from the airport because his sister is in the hospital. I thought at first it was like an old folks home, but it looks like she's in the hospital. She's going through some things. And so he's finally come to visit her after such a long time. He's a very mysterious character, a very quiet character. They call him the family weirdo. And with everything involving the older Sodhi, I felt like it was kind of odd. The production value of the entire show, really, the entire episode, but especially the first part where we have him as the present day, or not present day, but this was in they said in Singapore, 1996, I believe, was the year that they stamped this part of time. We'll call it the present day for easy purposes. It looked like a Hallmark movie. It looks like not the best quality of film and of cinematography, and it seemed kind of like a made-for-TV type thing. and it was kind of taking me out of it. The quality of the production was not nearly what I'm used to as far as Amazon series, as far as Indian content. It seemed a little cheap to me. I gotta be honest, it really did, and so that kind of threw me off. Once we go into 1942, once we go into the past where Sodhi is in the British Army, then everything, the production value goes way up. Still, some of the cinematography still had that kind of look, and maybe it's just a look I'm not used to. Maybe it's a certain millimeter film or a certain camera that's being used, but it wasn't my favorite choice, to tell you the truth. But once we got into 1942, for me, the episode really picked up. And so we go into 1942, where the uncle begins to retell this story, or at least it's his memories. And they are there, they're talking about how, Singapore, or not Singapore, but the Japanese are never going to attack. Singapore at that time was another area of land and country that was owned and controlled by Britain at that time. And so they were there just kind of holding down the fort. The soldiers were bored. They felt like no one's ever going to attack us. Why would they? And so they start playing cricket, and then all heck breaks loose, and the Japanese do storm. Sure enough, some of the people in intelligence for these soldiers were trying to tell the British intelligence, the commanders and the generals, hey, this is going to be the perfect place. They're going to come from this direction, not from the direction you think. And they said, there's no way they can. How could they? And sure enough, they did. And so they come and they attack, and we have this battle, and the episode ends. Well, I'll get there in a second, but the battle itself was awesome. There was a lot of these, not makeshift, but these cannons, these portable cannons, that's what I'm trying to think of, that the Japanese were throwing at the British troops, and they were just, blowing the smithereens. There's shots where limbs are flying as the blasts are going on, and that was pretty incredible to see. There was a lot of intensity built up. They show the Japanese, are on bicycles because there's too many trees to be able to bring any kind of vehicles or tanks or anything like that. And so they're on their bicycles, for crying out loud, and they're trying to get there. I was asking my wife, she watched a few minutes of it, how in the world are they able to shoot and ride a bicycle at the same time? That to me seemed pretty impossible, unless they were all excellent at having great balance. But the battle scene was fantastic. The production value was way increased at that point. I loved the costumes. I loved the uniforms. I thought the actor that played Sodhi did a fantastic job, the younger version of him. His friend I really liked a lot. It was cool to see cricket on there, Cricket Tuesday. It's cool to see cricket being played on there. And this episode, like I said, it was very fast. It was 36 minutes. Overall, I enjoyed it. I really thought at the end, I want to know how much of history that was based on. So basically you have the British upper-ups, the commanders, negotiating with the Japanese generals and trying to negotiate a ceasefire. They both want the other side to surrender. And as the British folds in this kind of game of cat and mouse, this kind of poker face type match, the British folds and say, fine, we surrender, just don't kill any more of our men. And at that point, the Indian soldiers in the British Army and some of the Australian soldiers in the British Army, they had the Japanese dead at rights. They had them in these trenches. Their weapons were down. They had them ready to go to surrender and take them as prisoners of war, but then they were given the command to surrender themselves. Now, I felt, why would you? Obviously, that's going to, I think, play a role in their decision on what they're going to do later on. I do know some of the history. I know what happens with the National Indian Army, and so with the Indian National Army, and so going forward, I wonder if that decision is going to play a role. I'm not sure if that actually happened in real life. Please let me know in the comment section. But I enjoyed the first episode. It didn't give me a whole lot. It gave me just enough to keep interested and go to the next episode. But I'm hoping that there's a little more information in the second episode. I don't need more action. There was plenty of that. But just more information, more background, how this Indian National Army did get formed and how these men made these tough decisions and these very unpopular decisions. And then we can talk more in these reviews. Gabe will join eventually, and maybe even Jody, who knows. But more than likely, Gabe. We'll talk more about the political side, and you got Bose, and you have the original founder of the INA, and whatnot. But as far as the show, I enjoyed the first episode. I'm going to watch the second one tonight. Definitely excited to get to the next chapter. Like I said, it's only 5 episodes. If you've not started watching it yet, go ahead. Let me know in the comment section what you think of episode 1. Once again, I thought the production value was a little weak in the first half. The second half, it really picked up. I thought it was interesting how everything was very G-rated in the first half, and then when they got to the army part, all the F-bombs started flying like the cannons did. That was interesting. There was none, and then there was a whole bunch left and right. I felt horrible for the British troops, the Australians, the Indians that were there, that were sacrificing themselves. They had way more men, and they ended up having to surrender because of a horrible decision by the British. But I'm excited for more Forgotten Army. If you have not seen our reaction to the trailer, go ahead and check that out. It's on our channel. If you want to see some other reviews or some other reactions, we do have them on the channel. Sacred Games just came out, like I said. We just posted our Cricket Tuesday video, so check that out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out our Patreon page. If you want to request something and you want it to come first and foremost, there you go. Join our Patreon. And I'm not going to be giving it a grade right now because it's just the first episode. I told you my thoughts. I'll give it an overall grade when we're done with all 5 episodes. But until next time, adios.